who or what books he's written, I'm going to give you a quote from like his most known children's book, and I want you guys to see if you know what book he's written. Okay, so the quote is, "I'll be famous one day, but for now, I'm stuck in middle school with a bunch of morons." Does it sound familiar to anyone?
Yeah.
Greg Heffley? Okay, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So these are all of the books he's written. This red one in the bottom left is the first one, and then all of the other books are kind of sequels to the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. A little bit of background on Jeff. He was born in Maryland in 1971. He went to Bishop McNamara High School, and while he was attending high school, his mom was a teacher, so school was something he had a big passion for, and they took it really seriously. His dad worked at the Pentagon, so he did work a lot of hours, which caused them to have not a great relationship. He had an older sister and a younger brother, and while he was growing up, he loved reading books both at school and at home. He would read from authors like Judy Blume, Beverly Cleary, and Piers Anthony. Should I fix that? Plug it in.
Fix it.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Okay, come on.
Okay. After high school, Jeff attended college. He went to the University of Maryland. While he was there, he started a comic strip called Ig Doof. And this is when he fell in love with cartoons, and he knew that he wanted to be a newspaper cartoonist. Unfortunately, Ig Doof never got syndicated, meaning, his work wasn't wanted and it wasn't really needed at the same time. So like any other person would do, if your work's not being accepted and it's not wanted, he changed his hobby. And he leaned more towards writing. And I put this quote in here because I think it just did a good job showing his attitude towards his work not being syndicated. He said, "I had wanted to be a newspaper cartoonist, but I couldn't break into the business. And so I decided to come at it a different way, and that's how I got to be a children's author, kind of by accident. I just wanted to write stories that made people laugh. I feel like everybody has funny things that happen to them, and I wanted to collect them." And so he did. He started writing, and he came up with Greg Heffley, and he wrote Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And the first one is personally my favorite book. I think it has really realistic events like, getting in a fight with your mom and dad or your sibling, or having to cover up for your brother or sister. Like the term cooties came up a lot in this book. So it was really easily relatable, and overall just an easy read for young kids. It wasn't overwhelming. They had pictures on almost every page or every other page, and I'll show you a part of it in the next slide. But it was really funny. It had a lot of humor in it, and sometimes he can be seen as extremely sarcastic. But what I like most about this book is you can teach lessons through it. Some people think that Diary of a Wimpy Kid kind of has this negative connotation to it, or sometimes it could be seen as provocative because they'll refer to people as a group of hot girls, or language they don't want their middle school kids being exposed to. But I think if you do incorporate a book like this into your classroom, there's ways where you can, turn it around and change it into something positive where your students can learn from. Here's a page from the beginning of the book. It says, "Today is the first day of school, and right now we're just waiting around for the teacher to hurry up and finish the seating chart. So I figured I might as well write in this book to pass the time. By the way, let me give you some good advice. On the first day of school, you've got to be real careful where you sit. You walk into the classroom and just plunk your stuff down on any old desk, and the next thing you know, the teacher's saying, 'I hope you all like where you're sitting because these are your permanent seats.' So in this class, I got stuck with Chris Hosey in front of me and Lionel James at the back of me. Jason Brill came in late and almost sat to my right, but luckily I stopped that from happening at the last second. Next period, I should just sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls as soon as I step in the room, but I guess if I do that, it just proves I didn't learn anything from last year." So, like I said, people don't like the term hot girls. They don't want their children reading books like this, but I think you can turn it around and focus on a different part. So I would say, what advice would you give someone on their first day of school? You can kind of start a class discussion to talk about, their first day of school experiences. Another part of the book, it was later on, it says Thursday. At school today, they announced that student government elections are coming up. To be honest with you, I've never had any interest in student government, but when I started thinking about it, I realized getting elected treasurer could totally change my situation at school. And even better, nobody ever thinks about running for treasurer because all anyone ever cares about are the big ticket positions like president and vice president. So I figure if I sign up tomorrow, the treasurer job is pretty much mine for the taking. Friday. Today, I went and put my name on the list to run for treasurer. Unfortunately, this kid named Marty Porter is running for treasurer too, and he's really brilliant at math, so this might not be as easy as I thought. So like this, I would talk to the class about, why does he want to run for treasurer? Does he want to do it for the right reasons? Start a discussion about that, and then maybe turn it into something that your class is, having elections for. Like, what kind of qualities do you think our class treasurer or our class president should be? And as you can see in both of these screens I showed you, he has a lot of pictures on every page, so it's a really easy read. Okay, and relating it to more of a personal note, Jeff Kinney kind of taught me to, Diary Wimpy Kid, to dream big. His character, Greg Heffley, didn't really pay attention in school. He seemed kind of lazy. He had a poor work ethic, and overall he was just really unmotivated. He stayed inside and, was playing video games over the summer, but instead of reflecting on all the negatives on him, he kept him dreaming big. And Greg always dreamt of being rich and famous, which I think is really inspiring for a lot of kids because a lot of them don't think this way, and I think it's important to think positive things of yourself. He also taught me that you can speak words through pictures. In all of those pictures, it kind of almost gave me a movie in my head, which helps me read books a lot. And then lastly, he showed me that you shouldn't be afraid to read these books with your class. Like I said earlier, many people refrain from reading these books or letting their kids read these books because they're afraid of what the kids are going to take out from the books, and they don't want them being exposed provocative words if there are any in the books. But I think as long as you turn it around and make it into a positive, I think you could definitely read Jeff Kinney's books with the class. And those are my sources.